Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Accelerator with Michael Conniff. That's me. We're here to bring together founders, startups, entrepreneurs with family offices, investment firms, angels, VCs, people with money, in other words. And it is great to be here today, live from Singapore, or live on a podcast. Is Hayden Hughes. Great to have you, Hayden, and welcome to the Accelerator.
Thanks so much, Michael. It's really great to be here.
And Hayden is the head of Alpha Impact. It's a very interesting crypto company. He's actually at least the third in a series of people coming to us from Southeast Asia. James Spurway from Singapore as well. Jonathan Moore from South Korea we spoke to recently, and now Hayden. And this company is really, really interesting. And Hayden, every time I speak to a gringo in Southeast Asia, I have to ask them, "What the heck are you doing there? How long have you been there? Why are you there? How come you're not here?" And where are you from?
Sure.
Where are you from originally?
Yeah, great question, and really happy to be here. And been a while since I heard the term gringo, so you could tell
Yeah,
I'm a little bit like a fish out of water here in
yeah.
Asia. Yeah, so I'm originally Canadian. Grew up in Canada, lived there for many years, and I guess started my first company, sold it. My family is half in New Zealand and half in Canada, so I had the chance to go down and study and go to law school in New Zealand, which made a lot of sense for me because Canada, as I think a lot of people know, gets a little bit cold in the winter. I know there are parts of the U.S. that have the same phenomenon, but Canada is really quite a chilly place, and so
I've
really
heard
went down to New Zealand to
warm,
be
warm,
closer
warm
to
people, warm people, chilly climate. But go ahead.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, so spent a few years living there. Went to law school, graduated. I guess at some point along the way, decided I didn't want to actually be a lawyer. And startups have always been a part of my life. But for me, I was really excited by the idea of early stage disruptive tech companies. And so when I graduated, I joined a venture capital fund, which was I guess doing some kind of interesting stuff. And then I found out about crypto in 2017 and ended up working for a company that moved me to Singapore. And it just, it was an investment bank, still is an investment bank, raising capital for crypto and blockchain companies.
I'm just curious about crypto in 2017. So we're really talking about almost 5 years ago, or at least 5 years ago, a different world. So what was that world like when you first were introduced to it, and what was the appeal of it?
Sure. So I guess the first thing I heard about crypto was I was in an office in a shared office in New Zealand. I was doing kind of like an investor roadshow for one of the companies that we were working with called Sharesies, and investment platform, but nothing to do with crypto. And some of their team members were talking about Ethereum, and they were saying, "Oh, it had gone from $15 to $50," and I thought, "Geez, that sounds pretty good. I should take a look at this." And there's a lot of people that they want to spend a long time learning and understanding before they make investments in things. For me, if something is going up, I can make a call on, is it going to keep going up, and you have to look at historical data and everything. But I really decided at that point I wanted to get in as an investor, and so went to work and I tried to sign up for every crypto exchange I could possibly find. And of course, they have this KYC process to, make sure you're not, in North Korea or wherever else. And so I did this KYC process at what felt like 10 different exchanges, and it was just pending, pending, pending. And months went by, and Ethereum went from $50 to $100 to, $400 to $500. And I ended up emailing the exchanges and just saying, a little bit of a white lie. I said, "Look, I'm a very important member of the business community, and I think it's in your best interests to onboard me as quickly as you can." And eventually got onboarded and started buying Ethereum, and it just kept going up. And so I also became aware at that time of companies doing ICOs, which in those days tended to be, insert company, insert use case, and then add the words on the blockchain. So weather prediction on the blockchain,
So before, just so,
delivering.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure we all understand what ICO means.
Sure. So an ICO is describes the process where a company creates a cryptocurrency token, and what they tend to do is they sell a small percentage of those cryptocurrency tokens in advance in what's called a private sale, and then there's also what's called a public sale. And so the idea is that the price for members of the public that buy it on the first day, let's say, might be $1. You might have the opportunity, if you get in early, to buy it for 25 cents. And with a little bit of marketing and market sentiment being good, the expectation was for a lot of these projects that were listing tokens, A, that they could raise money very, very easily, and B, that when the token listed on an exchange, it would go to the roof in terms of its price. So that there was kind of a mania in 2017 and 18 around these types of instruments.
So the tokens can actually be used to raise money, but when you list the larger public portion of it, you also have some of the advantages that you might have were it a stock. Is it fair to say that it acts like a stock a little bit at that point, that it can go up and down in value?
Yes, so that's true. It's traded on a market, and if the market is buying, then the price goes up, and if the market is selling, just economics, finance 101. If more people are selling, the price goes down. If more people are buying, the price goes up. So in many ways, it's similar to a stock in that respect. Although my peers in the banking industry, I'm not sure if I should say peers, folks who are around, my generation in the banking industry, have tended traditionally to view cryptocurrencies as not being driven by anything. And so there's a whole debate around:
Hmm.
is there a value intrinsically to what these assets are?
Is there?
Well, absolutely. I think some of them. So let me just start by saying one thing. 90 something percent, or maybe 80 something percent of cryptocurrencies were designed for no other purpose than speculation, capital raising, and the ability to generate liquidity very quickly. So, to all my colleagues and friends and people I know in banking who think that these cryptocurrencies are not based on anything, I probably 80% agree with them. And it really, in many cases, doesn't make sense for there to be a token. But some founders have just decided that, hey, they're going to do it and try to cash in on the bubble. So, in many respects, no, there's not an intrinsic value to some of those tokens. But assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum and others, I mean, there's different ways to look at these. I mean, JP Morgan values Bitcoin. They call the intrinsic value the price to produce one Bitcoin. So miners can produce a Bitcoin, and that has a cost. And so the JP Morgan model, among one of their many models, is that they just call that the intrinsic value. Others look at the value of the transactions on the network to try to come up with a, kind of a not quite a discounted cash flow type of scenario, but something that's somewhat similar. So there's a lot of different ways to value them. But the way that I think about Bitcoin is that it is a cryptocurrency that has one use case, right? And it is money. It is a store of value. The second one that I think is very interesting is one called Ethereum, which is it acts A, as a store of value, but B, as a programming language that sits. Well, it is its own blockchain that has its own language, and on top of that blockchain sits an ecosystem of applications. So I like to think of Ethereum kind of like the IBM of crypto. IBM doesn't really sell a lot of applications. It's Microsoft and Apple and others that do that. But IBM and NVIDIA and a lot of these companies that make chips, they're the nuts and bolts of the software space. And so that's how I tend to think of Ethereum. And there's a number of other cryptocurrencies, and there's a race in the industry today to define what is the Ethereum killer. A lot of folks talk about Solana being one of the big ones. But basically what you're looking at for these public layer one blockchains, we call them, is you're looking at a blockchain that stuff can be built on top of. And when things are built on top, then you can look at, well, what is the transaction value of all of those applications? How many developers? What is the amount of Ethereum that's being consumed to actually fuel all of those transactions? So it's kind of like saying it's software, right? You're just buying a piece of different ecosystems.
So it's impossible to talk about crypto, blockchain, any of this without immediately getting in the weeds. But that I think you're very articulate on the subject. You obviously know a lot about it, but we've got to get you from 2017 into the present. So you had this experience with blockchain early, and I guess it was positive or interesting enough that it made you want to stick with it. So what were your next moves in when you were in Singapore?
Yeah. So came to Singapore on behalf of that first company, and eventually the market really took a turn. And there's 2018 and 2019 for those of us that were in the industry was very painful. We're currently in a bear market in crypto. Prices are down. I could talk a lot about central bank interest rates and stuff like that, but there's many factors. But the bear market in 2018 and 19 was much, much different. And so what you saw was that there was nobody that was interested, and investors weren't interested anymore. They went from being very interested in 2017 and the start of 2018 to really not wanting to pick up the phone in the latter part of 2018 and 2019. So during that time, I actually realized that there was a bit of a gap in the marketplace because in 2017, a lot of people had become aware of crypto. But in 2018 and 19, there were really very few people that could explain this in a way that would make sense to normal people. And we talked a little bit about how these cryptocurrencies are valued, and I won't go too into the weeds, but I found that if I could explain things to people in a way that made sense to them, they would actually be very willing to get exposure to certain parts of the asset class. So I founded my own advisory business, which was a kind of a short-lived project due to COVID at the end. But really, I was very excited to bring kind of normal people into this crypto world and help them understand what the opportunities are. And if you believed at that time, as I did, and as I still do, that this crypto and blockchain technology is here to stay, then there were a lot of things that you could get access to that were trading at really what now is a historical period of undervaluation. So started an advisory business, was introducing institutional and individual and family-based investors to private transactions, well, not public transactions, but introducing them to cryptocurrencies, saying things like, well, why can't Bitcoin go down to zero, and explaining the whole asset class. So
Can I
did that business. Yeah.
can I ask you a question? I feel like a very ignorant student with a very smart teacher. Um, what was when you were talking to so-called normal people? I suppose that's the rest of us. Um, what was your pitch to people who knew nothing about this? Like, what was your elevator pitch about crypto in 2018, 2019?
Sure. So at that time, the market had significantly cooled off. Bitcoin was trading significantly below. So in 2018, Bitcoin went down to about $3,000. In 2019, you might recall Facebook was doing some stuff with its crypto. So there was a renewed interest, but then another bear market after that. So really, it was like, if you think of it from the start of 2018, it went like this and then up and then down again until the start of 2020, or at least flat. So what I was basically saying was, look, Bitcoin tends to increase exponentially. The supply of Bitcoin is going down over time, so the inflation is actually decreasing. And when we have these events that happen every 4 years, where the supply of Bitcoin gets contracted or cut in half every 4 years, so it's the rate of new Bitcoins being produced gets chopped in half every 4 years, that tends to precipitate a massive bull run. And so that was my kind of pitch. And I'd say, look, this asset is asymmetrical to other assets. There's a lot of upside. Your downside, of course, is there. But really, we've kind of tested those waters. We saw it go down to 3. We saw it go down to 4. So I said, this is something that you should have as a diversifier in your portfolio. And that was kind of the high level.
And you probably still feel that way, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen a lot of maturity in the industry since then. I mean, the advent of many investors, professional investors, Yale's endowment funds, institutions, has totally changed the way that the asset class behaves. But yeah, absolutely, it's an asymmetrical asset that over time, I mean, it's not going anywhere. That's for sure.
So, what were the steps from this point that got you to your current company, Alpha Impact, that mirrors traders, follows traders, and allows people to invest just like the best traders in the business, which is a brilliant idea. What are the steps that got you there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, I eventually ended up selling the company that I referred to, the advisory business, and then joining Crypto.com, doing institutional sales, doing the exact same thing I had been doing. And truth be told, I started to make money trading, and I thought, and I was actually making more money trading than I was from my salary. So I thought, all right, well, I'm just going to stop working because if I can make more over here doing something
Yeah.
and I get to just kind of sit in my pajamas, why would I, go work for the man? So the problem that I had, Michael, when I started trading crypto, and look, at this point, I had been trading for many years. It's very challenging to. So let me start a little bit further back. There are amazing information asymmetries that exist in crypto that do not exist in traditional capital markets. So if Elon Musk sneezes, there will be some equity analyst at some bank who has analyzed the market impact of that sneeze. And so you can assume that most information about most large stocks is out there. I won't get into the whole debate about is it an efficient market or not. That's a longer conversation. But there's information that's out there and analyzed, and it's been adopted by the market. In crypto, the information is asymmetrical. So, as a trader, my goal in 2020 was really to try to find sources of information of people that had information about this type of blockchain, that type of project. And what I found was that it was just so challenging identifying who was worth listening to and who was frankly wasting my time. This was a real pain point that I had when I was teaching myself. So I met my co-founder Austin in the Antler Accelerator, and he had done so much research on this is Austin Chair, by the way. He comes from a banking research.
And where is the
Yeah.
Amber Accelerator? Is that in Singapore?
So it's Antler, yeah. So they're global,
Yeah.
but they have
Oh,
they
boy.
have one in Singapore, yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
And and so I met Austin. He had done thousands of hours of research, and I realized that he was actually better at trading than I was. And I thought, well, let me sit beside this guy because clearly it's a positive expected value to be sitting beside someone like this. And we realized that there was actually a lack of tools that a lot of folks have when they're getting into crypto that are there to help them decode the asset class and figure out how to invest, what should I invest in, and really to bring that transparency where if you see me on Alpha Impact, you'll actually see my portfolio as well. So if I'm telling you to buy, you'll see if I'm holding that same asset. So that was kind of the philosophy.
Very interesting. So in 2020, you formed Alpha Impact. There are 11 in the company now, and you've described it as a social media network that connects people to crypto exchange accounts, and it's also a way, as I mentioned, to mirror top traders. You've got thousands of users. How many? How many so far?
Yeah, so we have just over 4,000 users, and it's been a very, I guess, when we started off, and Michael, if you don't mind, I'd love to show a demo in a few minutes' time, just 30 seconds of what the platform looks like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Ready? Okay, here we go. Great. So part of the thesis for us was really around how can we build a trading platform that doesn't look like a trading platform. And so this is our social media feed. There's a lot of trading functionality, but we don't want to confuse people right off the top. So the whole idea here is that you can see what these traders are talking about. So this gentleman is a trader. He's been generating some decent results. He's got different returns connected or different portfolios connected. So the whole idea for us is can we do this in a way that builds a community between the trader and the follower? So this has been the social feed is, I think, the home of Alpha Impact, and that's where people start. But for those who want to see actual portfolios, you can actually go here to the Discover section. So these are our most followed traders, some of our most profitable traders, and you can look at different time frames. And
Can you
I
hold it?
mean, just
I
looking
just
at
want to. I want to look at
yeah.
some of the numbers, like up 331%, up 78%, up. I think that's up, right? It's in green, so
Yeah,
45%. But you
45%.
also, I'm sure you have some who are not up. So you can, as a user of Alpha Impact, you can use this to make your own trades. Obviously, you can watch
Absolutely,
people
yeah.
do it. And is that in fact what people are doing? Is that actually how it's used?
Yeah, yeah. So the whole idea here is that you can actually see what people are doing. And so if we zoom in and we look at this person's portfolio, this person, we can zoom in and actually see how he's doing over time. So he's over the past 30 days, you can see Bitcoin is actually down and he's up. So you could see his assets that he has in his portfolio right now, just USD. You can see his positions right in. So it looks like he's closed everything and he's been very successfully swing trading this currency. So the way that it works is you can actually follow this person, and when they make a trade, you make a trade automatically. So I won't go through every single feature, but let me
Oh,
just
wait, let me just stop you there. When they make a trade, you automatically make the same trade. That's
yeah,
clever.
absolutely. So that's how it works.
Even for the same amount, for the same exposure,
So it's
identical.
sized. It's actually sized proportionally. So it's based
Okay.
in percentage terms. So if he trades 5%, you will trade 5% of yours.
Okay. And how do you make your money?
Yeah, so we actually haven't started yet, but there, just one more thing that I'll show here.
Yeah.
You connect and exchange accounts. So our platform is not a platform where we ask you to make a deposit. It's non-custodial. So what that means is that you could just connect what's called an API key, and you'll be able to trade some of these traders automatically. So we make money in two ways. Firstly, let's take a look at some shorter time frames. So let's look at the daily returns. So these are some returns just over the past day. This person has made, it looks like 10% in the past 24 hours, 7%, 5.73%. So decent returns on shorter time frames and on longer time frames as well. So let's take a look at the all-time results. So this is actually not all-time, it's since last July. And so the whole idea is that we're building this platform in a way that you can follow this person and make the same return without having to make a deposit. So you connect your exchange account, and what happens is you press follow, and when you follow them, the platform will automatically copy the trades. So we haven't actually enabled automatic copy trading for every account yet. You do have to get on the wait list and be approved. But the whole idea is that we will charge a small subscription fee to give you access to, number one, this person's, I'll just let it load here. So he posts, oops. So this person posts a lot of technical analysis on our platform. And so you'll get access to all of this. So that'll be a subscription fee. And the trader can actually customize how much you pay for that. And then the second piece, of course, is when you copy trade that person, there will be a little button right here if you're invited. Then there's a small transaction fee. So we have a wallet here in our platform. You can deposit crypto, and that's how the fee will be paid in the short
And
term.
can you do copy trading, which I love that phrase? Can you do that in other exchanges? Is this purely a crypto phenomenon, an alpha impact phenomenon?
Yeah, so right now we're focused purely on crypto. You start getting into stocks and commodities and FX, it gets a little bit challenging in terms of needing licenses. But we feel that there's enough. I mean, you saw our top trader, he made 300% in 1 month. So it's a reasonably good return. And I feel pretty happy that, I'm able to copy trade this person. I know a lot of people are excited that they can copy trade as
And
well.
and, and,
So,
and
yeah.
Hayden, do you find yourself, or do you find that your trade, like if it were me, not to be too stupid about this, but obviously you're going to want to copy the guy who or the trader who's doing the best, right? So is there some piling on in that sense that the bulk of the traffic is focused on the top two or three traders?
Well, what we tend to see is that there are different traders who perform differently in different time periods. And so, one of the reasons that we've actually included the Sharpe ratio as a measure of volatility is that we want to actually give our users the ability to see who's been a consistently good trader, even despite the volatility. And so, that's one aspect we look at. We have different assets that we integrate with. So, we will soon have, I mean, I think the version I showed you has three leaderboards. So, there's one for most followed, top returns, and also the Sharpe ratio. But we actually imagine a future where we have our own products and customers can choose from futures or margin or options. But then we'll have some products that we create as well, where users will get access to, I guess, simplified products that don't require them to have to trade a top trader. So, look, there's lots of trading platforms out there, but I think the key thing for us has really been, can we get these really great traders who consistently outperform the market, not only for 1 month, but every month? And
How
the
do they
ones that I
feel
showed
about?
you, yep.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, how do they feel about giving away their secrets, so to speak?
Well, I think that in many cases, you're dealing with people who want to monetize their trading and want to build a following. Michael, when we started off with this business, we looked at a lot of the influencers and so-called experts who are out there on YouTube and Discord and TradingView. And what we realized is that a lot of the experts that claim to be experts out there are actually not very good. And so, counter cyclically, we also see that people who are the true experts are sometimes not very good at building a following in a community. So the idea
Ah,
for us is to give these traders a toolbox to monetize and grow and build a following in a way that other platforms don't do.
yeah, it's very interesting. And now, finally, I should ask you that question we ask everybody here on the Accelerator is, um, are you trying to raise money? If so, how much and what round are you in? And give us some sense of maybe what you already raised as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our, I guess, second capital raise. So we got a little bit of money from the accelerator we went through last year, and we're currently halfway through a seed round. So it's a safe note. We're raising between 1.5 and $2 million at a discount to the next round. I don't want to give too many details because I don't want this to be a solicitation. But it is we think, a fairly priced round, and there are some VCs who are in.
Who are in already?
Yes, absolutely.
And are they local to you there in Singapore? Or are they from elsewhere?
Yeah, so one is a large international VC, one is local here in Singapore, and then, yeah, those would be the two main ones. And then there's some that haven't, they've given us a term sheet we haven't signed or are still negotiating. But there's one certainly very well known VC, and one of our investors in an earlier round is, I can't say the name, but they're one of the largest high frequency trading firms on the globe, in fact. And I think I can
Mhm.
say they have offices in many places, but a presence in the US. So we have a fairly attractive investor base, and I'm apologizing that I can't give away all the juicy
Okay,
details to the public.
that's okay. Secrets are important. Well, listen, Hayden, I want to thank you so much for staying in your office to speak with us from Singapore today. We really appreciate it. And of course, we wish you all the best in all of this. It's super interesting, and I think you're certainly, of the people I've talked to, you're one of the most articulate proponents of crypto, and so that's really great. We'd love to have you back on again sometime if you're game.
Fantastic. I look forward to it.
All right. Well, thank you. This has been the Accelerator. We're here with Hayden Hughes. I'm Michael Conniff. You can follow me on Twitter at Michael Conniff, MichaelConniff. You can also find us on virtually every leading platform, including Apple and Audible and Spotify and so on. We're also on YouTube with video, and you can come if you want to see my other lives. Go to michaelconniff.com and you will see that actually this guy is primarily a writer, which might surprise you. But but at the moment, we're all broadcasters in this new Zoom world. So anyhow, thanks Hayden, and thank you all for listening. This is the Accelerator with Michael Conniff, and we'll be back before you know it.